Hi everyone, and welcome to CreativeChelsey. Today I've got for you another set of alternative cards using the November 2019 Paper Pumpkin Kit Winter Gifts. So inside the instructions, it gives you instructions on how to make the tags, and then on the back it gives you some alternative card ideas, and I really loved this card. And so I wanted to kind of create my own version of it. So we're going to do that one today. So here's my version. And we're going to make another card using some similar products from the kit. So let's go ahead and get started with this card first. So we are going to be using, this is Green Cardstock. In the kit, it comes with the shaded spruce ink, and I can't believe it, but I didn't have any shaded spruce cardstock. So luckily these trees have all different colors of green in them, and I think it looks really great with the garden green as well. So we're going to be using that cardstock and that green ink for today's card. So let's go ahead and get started stamping, and we're going to stamp on this background with the garden green and the holly berry stamp from the kit. All right, so use a little bit of scrap paper just so that when you come off your card, you don't get it on your paper piercing mat. If by chance you do, it's pretty easy to clean off. Just get a little wet rag and you can kind of wipe it off pretty easy. So I've mentioned this in some of my previous videos, but if you're having a hard time with your images from the kit, because a lot of them are a lot of solid images and you want a nice clean image when stamping, you can use Versamark. And this is like a sticky ink, and you're going to put that down first before you ink it. And what that does is it kind of helps hold on to the ink so that you get a nice crisp image. So if you notice you're having a problem, go ahead and give that trick a try. And I have mentioned that in all my videos, but if this is your first one, I want to make sure that you hear that. And you don't need to re-ink it after each time you stamp. You just kind of keep stamping. If you clean it, then there's probably that chance that you should probably re-ink it with Versamark, but that's up to you. Okay, so we're just going to stamp this holly berry image around your card base. There's no rhyme or reason. Just kind of make sure that sometimes, it comes off your card and sometimes it's all the way on. You want to rotate so that you get, a variation showing. Sometimes this very last stamp is the hardest because you can kind of squeeze it into a small space. All right, so we don't really need to cover the middle because that's where our other images are going to be. And we are just going to stamp while we have our ink out on a scrap piece of paper. You want to stamp that holly berry one more time. Oh, I'm going to get that a little more inked up. I want a nice dark image. There. And then I want to do the greeting. And the greeting is Let It Snow. And it's one of the stamp greetings in the set. And it goes on a little strip. There it is. And I did ink it in green just to kind of help it pop a little bit. Nice, just put it right there in the middle. Okay, so the stamping is all done. So now we can assemble. So here's our original card. And grab your card base. And so it is popped up with some dimensionals. And you can use the ones in the kit or the ones that Stampin' Up! Sells, either one. These ones are the ones that they sell. They're a little bit bigger, and so they kind of, I like them for a little bit of the bigger pieces. Okay, so we want the darker part of that gradient to be at the top, and just kind of center it on your card. Then we're going to use the Christmas tree tag, and we need to cut off that little ring. So grab a pair of scissors. There mine are. And just kind of round, point, whatever you like. And this just goes straight on, so I'm just going to attach it with some glue. And I'm just going to put it right there in the middle. And we're going to place this just on the left side. So I've got it touching the bottom right corner. And straighten it out a little bit. Great. The next thing would be our deer. And he's going to I'm going to pop him up with some dimensionals, and then I'm going to use the ones that came in the kit because they're smaller. I'm going to place a couple along his body, and I'm not going to put any on his legs. Okay, I'm going to place him so that his feet are near the bottom and that his neck is kind of coming off that edge. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the greeting portion. I've got that little tiny red strip that comes in the kit, and my stamped greeting is where? Oh, there it is. Okay, so those things just go right on top. Use some snail and just a little peekaboo of red on each side and center it. And then I'm going to do, I think this is 20 inches. Yeah, so 20 inches of linen thread. And this did not come in the kit. This is from my own personal stash. I just really liked how it kind of brought in that earthy element to this card. It's not part of the original card that they created, but I really liked it. So I'm just going to wrap it around 3 of my fingers. And then I'm going to add it, but I should have put down some snail. So just kind of elongate it a little bit and put it down. And then kind of just break it up a little bit so it's not so perfect. Okay. And that's just going to go right on top. And the last thing we're going to add is that like 3 of those holly leaves, and they're the ones we stamped. So because we remember we're using a different green. So we're just going to fussy cut these out. Remember when you're fussy cutting to move the paper and not your scissors. And that's really going to help you. And I'm just not even worrying about those berries because they're not going to be seen. They're going to be tucked under the greeting. So one thing about fussy cutting these is you're going to want that sharp point at each little peak of the leaf. So go beyond the peak and then cut into it. So you're kind of making a new cut at each peak. Okay, so then I'm going to add a glue dot right there. And that's just going to get tucked right in that corner, like that. Okay. So the last thing I want to do is just add some dimensionals. I'm going to put one over all that stuff and one over this stuff and probably one in the middle. Okay, and then this, we want to see the bottom of their feet, so don't cover up the feet. You're just going to center it right between the legs. And, oh, this little guy came out. Let's just cut it. There. Okay. So we've got that card finished, and we can go ahead and add some sequins. Let's do some of these silver ones. And we'll just add some of the 3 little ones. And we'll put here, here, and one up here. So this is just kind of my version of the card that they gave as an alternative idea. I really liked how they had set up the different die cuts. And so I kind of started with that and played around with it and added my own touches. Don't miss out on the fun. Make sure you're subscribed to Paper Pumpkin. Click on the link below by the 10th of the month to get next month's kit. Okay, so let's move to card number 2. And this card definitely has a different feel. So we're going to start, so we've cut down a tree so that we can create kind of 2 trees in this little picture window. And so I'm going to show you how I did that. Okay, so let's first start by, with this tag, it has that hole, and so I didn't want that hole to come out. So I added a scrap piece of paper with some adhesive, just so that it won't pop out on me. And so what we're going to do is we're actually just going to trim each of these corners at the bottom so that they kind of have a similar look and it doesn't look so much like a tag. So you can do this exact if you want, like you can come down, make a little snip here, and then figure out like where that is, snip, and then come across and snip those 2 like that. Okay, or you can just go for it and snip it. So this kind of, lines up right there, and this lines up about there, and then turn it over and snip. Okay, so that was nice and quick. And then let's go ahead and punch this. So I've just used the triple banner punch. So I've got the triple banner punch, and so this is 2 inches by 5.5. I'm just pushing it in all the way and punching down, and it makes a perfect banner. So it fits a 2 inch, a 1.5, and a 1 inch. And so that's a really fun punch to have. And I need to stamp on this, and I've got a couple snowflakes. Let's go ahead and cut our tree down. So I'm just going to cut off this ring. And then I'm going to measure, I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to measure on the back. And so I can tell this is about 4 inches tall. And so I want my bottom tree to I'm going to start cutting it about 2 inches, so right here, and I want to have the tip be about here. So let me grab a pencil. Okay, so 2 inches right about here, and then 2.5 is here. So I'm just going to kind of follow. So I'm going to kind of come down, come up, come down, something like that, to kind of bring my tree to a point. And then this tree, I'm going to cover up that hole so that I kind of get 2 trees out of 1. And it can just be very like free-handed. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm actually going to come out a little wider and just kind of come around, come down, come back up, and then do the same. So come down, kind of come back up, wrap around, and then kind of move into that one there. Okay, so it's not perfect, right? But nobody's really going to know that that's not what it was originally. And then we've got this tree here, and we're going to cover that up with our greeting. So that is perfect for me. And we can just go ahead and add those to the label. So this one gets placed right on top of it. I'm just going to use some snail. And the reason for that is because I can pull it off if I need to. I'm just going to place it all the way to the right and to the bottom, just so it kind of hits a little bit below the top. And then this one is going to come a little below that blue square, so that it's not quite touching the top. And that's going to get raised with some dimensionals. Okay. There we go. And see, that one kind of covers up some of that tree too. So that's a really fun thing. Okay, we're on my pieces. So we've got our banner, and I did wrap around. I think we've got another 20 inches of twine here. So I just held on to about 4 inches and wrapped, and then came around and tied it in a bow. I always do a knot, just so I don't have to worry about any of that. You know, tying a bow, a pretty bow, is hard enough, on top of trying to make sure that everything stays in place. So I like to knot it. Okay, so we've got that bow, we've got our tag, we've got our card base. Let's stamp on our card base. So we're doing that in Pool Party. So we've got our Pool Party card base, Pool Party ink, and our snowflake. And we're just randomly stamping the snowflake. We'll do 2 or 3 up in the corner. the middle. And then let's do a little bit here at the bottom. Okay. And while we have our ink out, let's go ahead and stamp our greeting. And we're going to do this in Let It Snow. And we just used the Let It Snow in the green, the garden green. So we need to clean this before we stamp it in the pool party. Okay. All right, some other elements I brought in is just some silver foil paper. And if you don't have this, you could probably trim a little piece off of the reindeer sheet. You know how it comes in that sheet and then you've got all the punched out reindeers. Just kind of cut off, this is 1/4 of an inch from the edge, and then just add that to the back. And then we're using a red piece. Okay, so do you remember these cards? And we had cut off a skinny piece of the red paper. And I said, hold on to it, we're going to use it. Well, that's what this red strip is from. And so we're going to use that right there. So that's a 1/2 inch strip. And we're going to use the triple banner punch. And it doesn't quite fit, so you have to turn it over and just eyeball where you want to cut off that little banner piece. And then that just kind of, you're going to use that to cover up that little hole there. Okay, so that's where that red piece came from. So if you haven't made that card, you could just cut a piece of real red cardstock. It is 1/2 inch by, what is that? 2 3/4 inches. So, all right, so now we're ready to assemble. We've got all our pieces. This piece we're going to pop up with some dimensionals. And the reason for that mainly is because we've wrapped twine around it. And so we need to give that twine some space. And the linen thread, I guess is really what it's called. The linen thread is not part of the kit, so you'll just need to use some from your own craft room stash or get some. So, and you can always order products through me on the website that is listed in the description. So we're just going to bring that over. I'm going to put snail here where it's going to attach to the green paper, and then we're going to put dimensionals at the top. Okay, so I'm just going to bring it close to the bottom, but not touching, and then just line it up, leaving about 1 inch on the left. We're going to now add that strip of real red, and that's just going to get tucked in between the two trees right here. Okay. And I do kind of want it coming out just a little bit so that I can see it once we get that greeting on. So that's just covering up that hole that we made with the tree. And then this gets popped up with some dimensionals. I'm actually going to snip these ends at an angle. And then that just gets centered if you want it centered, or you can bring it up a little bit. I'm just going to center it just slightly. I do want a little bit of that red to show at the bottom. So it's not quite centered because they're about the same thickness. So I've brought it up just a little bit to see that. And then the last thing, we're just going to add some snowflakes and we'll call it good. So let's put some glue dots on the back of those. And we'll just do we'll do 3 of the little arms that come out. Okay, last step would be to add some rhinestones. I'm just going to use the first, the 3 smallest, I'm trying to say. Put some by each snowflake, and then 1 by the down here. Maybe we'll use these big ones too. We've got them. Let's put 1 here. Let's put 1 here. And then put it over here. Put it right here. There we go. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, like, and share. Visit CreativeChelsey.com for more information about Paper Pumpkin and to start getting your monthly kit. Have a creative day. Bye.